I've been working out at a 24-hour gym for years now, and I usually go super late. It's quiet, I have the place mostly to myself, and it's kind of my way to unwind. But one night last winter, I got the scare of my life. It was almost 1 a.m., and I was completely alone, doing some stretches near the treadmills that face the big glass windows in front of the gym. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something moving outside. At first, I thought it was just a shadow or a car passing by, but when I glanced over, there was a man standing there, just outside, watching me through the glass. He was dressed kind of scruffy, with a hood pulled up, and he was staring right at me, not even blinking. I tried to ignore him, thinking he'd go away if I didn't acknowledge him, but after a few minutes, he started knocking on the glass. It wasn't loud, just a slow, steady knock that was almost polite in a weird way. I felt this wave of dread but told myself to stay calm. Maybe he just needed help or something. Then he mouthed something I couldn't make out and pointed to the door. He wanted me to let him in. I shook my head, signaling no, hoping he'd take the hint. Instead, he just kept knocking, this creepy, rhythmical tap that seemed to get louder with every knock. Finally, I picked up my phone and pretended to dial someone, hoping it would scare him off. But he just stared, completely unfazed, and then mouthed again, "Let me in." His expression didn't change. It was blank, almost like he wasn't really there. I felt trapped, like I was some animal in a cage with this predator just watching, waiting for me to make a move. Eventually, I grabbed my stuff and backed away from the window, hiding behind one of the machines as I called the police. I whispered what was happening, too scared to speak up, hoping he wouldn't notice I was calling for help. By the time the cops got there, he was gone, but they found footprints outside, like he'd been pacing back and forth, watching me for a long time. I don't go back to that gym anymore, and whenever I'm alone, I still hear that knocking in my mind, that slow, steady tapping that just wouldn't stop. I've been working out at Anytime Fitness for about a year now, mostly because it's close to my job and I can go right after work. Usually, by the time I get there, it's late, around 11 p.m. I love the quiet. It's usually just me, a couple of other night owls, and the gym staff. But one night, about a month ago, something happened that still gives me chills. I was doing my usual workout, starting with some cardio on the treadmill. About 10 minutes in, I noticed a man in the free weights section who I'd never seen before. He was tall, older than the usual crowd, maybe in his 50s, and he was just staring. His eyes were locked on me, completely ignoring the weights in his hands. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe he was just zoning out or looking past me, but no, his gaze didn't shift. Every time I glanced over, he was staring, deadpan, right at me. It was intense, no blinking, no looking around, just this fixed, uncomfortable stare. I tried to ignore it, focusing on my run, telling myself I was being paranoid. But as I finished my cardio and moved to the leg machines, he got up and followed me. At this point, my heart was racing, and not from the exercise. He didn't approach, but he stayed nearby, just watching, lingering like he was waiting for something. I kept my eyes on my phone, texting my friend that I might need her to call me. I could feel his eyes burning into me, just watching. I was alone in the section, and I started feeling like I was trapped, nowhere to go without walking right past him. Then, out of nowhere, he walked over and with this strange smile said, "You have great form. I watch you every night." I froze. Every night. He must have seen the shock on my face because he started laughing, this low, unsettling laugh, like he found it amusing that he'd scared me. I tried to laugh it off, awkwardly muttering thanks, and quickly moved to another machine. But he followed again, moving closer asking personal questions like, "Where do you live?" and "Do you come here alone?" I'd never felt so uneasy in my life. I grabbed my things, made up an excuse, and rushed out, practically sprinting to my car. As I drove away, I saw him standing at the entrance, watching me leave with that same creepy smile. I haven't been back to that gym since. I switched to another one across town, and now I go during the day. It's been weeks, but every time I work out, I still feel like someone's watching me. So, I was working out at this 24-hour gym near my apartment. I usually go late because of my schedule, and I like that it's pretty empty around midnight. You just swipe your badge and walk in, no front desk staff at that time of night, which I always thought was convenient. Until one night, when I realized how risky it actually is. I walked up, swiped my badge as usual, and just as the door buzzed open, I heard footsteps behind me. Two guys were coming up fast, and before I knew it, they had slipped in right behind me, not even pretending to have badges of their own. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe they'd just forgotten their passes. But as I moved into the gym, something felt off. These guys weren't heading toward any machines. They were just standing there, glancing around like they were scoping the place out. I tried to shrug it off and went to the bench press, putting in my earbuds and trying to ignore them. But after a few minutes, I noticed one of them standing way too close, like he was watching me. The other guy was hanging back, looking at his phone and whispering to his friend every so often. They'd stare at me, look away, then stare again. My gut was screaming that something wasn't right. I decided to cut my workout short and just leave. As I headed for the door, one of the guys suddenly blocked my path. He flashed this creepy smile and said, "Leaving already? Thought you'd stick around for a bit." I didn't know what to say. I forced a laugh, mumbling that I was just in for a quick workout, but he didn't move. The other guy came up beside me, and they both kind of closed in, boxing me in near the door. Then one of them reached out and put a hand on my shoulder, his smile dropping as he said, "Let's make this quick, all right? Just give us your phone and wallet, and no one gets hurt." My heart was pounding. I didn't have much on me, just my gym card and my phone, but I knew it could go bad fast if I didn't stay calm. I handed over my phone, hoping they'd leave, but then the other guy demanded my keys. Panic set in. I realized if they took my car, I'd be stuck there alone in the middle of the night with these two. Luckily, right as things started getting intense, a couple walked in, talking loudly. The two guys froze, and then, without a word, they just turned and walked out like nothing happened. I reported it to the gym the next day, but they didn't have cameras. Now, I don't go to the gym alone at night anymore.